I want to say that the worst thing that can happen to a human being is to give them free stuff. Because when you give them free stuff, you destroy their nature. There's something within us that develops when we learn to work for ourselves and take care of ourselves and create a sense of security and independency. When I was growing up, we had to work. I mean, I don't ever remember not working. And even on the plantation, I had to pick cotton right after I get out of school or work the farm. Anybody ever pick cotton? You have not lived until you pick cotton. It makes a man out of you. And so we had to do that. And then there were Black Americans who had land, their own homes, they were independent, moral people. And once the government came in and started giving them free stuff, it destroyed their nature where they wanted to take care of themselves. It makes you lazy. It makes you angry when whomever is taking care of you, try to stop taking care of you. You lose that desire to want to be independent. So what I recommend is that we get the government out of our life, period. And then the less government, the better off we are. Here's what they should say to the folks who are having these babies out of wedlock. Okay, we're going to teach you a job, a trade or something. You got to get a job. And if you have one more baby, we're kicking you off, period. We're not taking care of any other children. And I guarantee you, these folks will stop having these babies out of wedlock because they know that they will have to take care of themselves. We have to be really strong and common sense about this. It's like spoiling children. As long as you know that you're going to get something free from mama, you're going to stay home the rest of your life. We're working with men right now whose mothers have spoiled them. I'm working with a man who is 59 years old, and he's stuck at home with his mother. He now hates her, and that hatred is keeping him there because she spoiled him, and he's so angry about it that he cannot get away from her. So we have to set it up with parents, teach their children from day one how to be independent by teaching them to work so that nature can grow inside of them. The primary reason, the number one reason that the communities are falling apart in the urban areas is because the men are not involved. And as I said earlier, the worst thing that can happen to a child is not to have a father. There is a spiritual order to life, whether we know it or not, accept it or not, like it or not, live it or not. And that order is God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, and woman over children. And when you remove that man away, then evil is able to come in and overtake women and children. That's why we have abortion out of control. That's why the communities are falling apart, because the men are no good. They've been weakened. Men are more hated than Satan himself in America today. They work overtime to keep men down. And the reason they work overtime to keep them down because evil understands that if that man is there to protect his family, his community, that they can't come in and destroy. And so if we could get the black men to overcome their anger by forgiving their mothers and returning to the fathers, then we can start to make the community safer, to start to build businesses. But right now, even Snoop Dogg moved out of the hood when he made money because you cannot run a business in the hood. You get robbed, you get killed, all kind of stuff happens. So we gotta bring back that man so he can take over his family, his life, and his family life, and start building in the community. That's what everybody else is doing. And that's what we did prior to the civil rights movement.
That makes sense, sir.
Hood is more than one thing and not just one grand mythical hood, right? There are as many hoods as there are bodies inside of them. And so to say that you can't start a business in the hood, for me at least, doesn't mean a whole lot, because I am from a hood where there are businesses, where there are businesses that don't get robbed, where there are businesses that are shut down by gentrification and by institution, so I will say that if we're going to talk about, if we're going to pitch this thing that we're all one and people are all complex, then I think we should imagine the hood as such too. These communities are all complex.
I think.
I don't think they're not complex to me. It's just that we got to use common sense in order to do it. And yes, we have barbershops and beauty shops and that kind of stuff going on, but we need businesses. You know, we need supermarkets and we need manufacturing. We need real businesses in there, and that cannot happen until we clean out the crime, until men and women take back their families and start doing the right thing. That's just the reality around the country. And because of the environment that Barack Obama, the worst president that this country has ever experienced, Barack Obama created this environment that the white man is the problem. Violence has, and then so now the cops are backed off. Violence have gone out of control. It is going out of control. So more people are less likely to start a real business in the black community.
Respectfully, you cannot take race out of the conversation. We're talking about issues regarding the way our country, our society alone moves and lives. Here in even just Los Angeles alone, which houses the highest homeless population in the United States of America, where most of those folks are black folks. Not just year after year, but decade after decade. This is way before Obama. Way before Obama. When we're talking about a prison industrial system, which has become privatized, where people are now being subjected to a prison system rather than working within the community and working towards benefiting the needs of the people, where we'd rather put more money into housing people behind bars like they're animals, rather than building up on kids. Where is your responsibility and accountability?
Do you have a question for one? Okay, good question, please.
I do want to just quickly add one quick point. Is that kind of anger in the home that are destroying the children?
Shermichael would like to say something to this. Okay, please do respect others here and let others have a say. Thank you.
Also,
thank you.
I just real quick to say that
I respect you and appreciate you, and I think it's frankly whack to suggest that anger and passion like that is destroying a child.
It is. No, it really is.
I don't buy
There's
that.
no love in that anger. There's no
I saw a lot of love
And
in
if
that.
you father her children, I bet they're all insane. No, you got to get rid of that anger, lady, because it has nothing to do with race at all. Even as Martin Luther King Jr. said, it's all about character, not color. Not color. You're the problem. You're the problem.
If I may move this along, simply because I want to give other people an opportunity to also have their voice. Okay. We have other questions, and we do want to respect and have other people also have their voices heard. Thank you for standing up and sharing from your heart. Over here on this side.
Destruction of the nuclear family is part of the, cause of systemic problems, right? And I always feel like we assume that a nuclear family is like the norm, right? Like that is the way the world's supposed to be if you're, man, wife, 2.5 kids, right? Which itself is a historical construct. Not everywhere in the world is like that. And so I just like to hear kind of the defense or perhaps a critique of the nuclear family, because I feel like we always take it for granted as the best way for things to go, and I don't actually
need a man in the household for the families to be kept together, in order for families not to crumble down. But I just want to say that I feel like that's a false misconception. I was raised by a single mother, and me and my brother turn out perfectly. I am currently an undergrad at the University of Southern California, and I grew up not only raised by a single mother, I was also raised in a very impoverished neighborhood, and I just think that it's not just it's not about the role of you need a macho man to be head of the household, because my mom raised me perfectly fine without needing a male figure in my life, and I know I can tell what's right and wrong, and that's just
one thing I want to quickly clear up. She made the point that she was raised by a single mother, and so now she has a little education. Education doesn't mean that you're a good person. What a father and a mother tend to do, by example, they live by example, so you can see how to become a noble person, a man or woman of character. I mean, look at Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, they both have degrees. Look how corrupt they are. Look at Maxine Waters. I mean, they have degrees. It's about the father be quiet. The father and the mother bring in the character of the family because love comes from above, through God, through Christ, through the father, through the mother, and down to the children. And when you don't have that father there, there is no godly love in the home. You may get a degree, but you're still angry and unhappy. I guarantee you.
And I think when you get into these single-wedged issues of this is the only reason or the only way to properly raise a child, and it's not properly backed by data, at least that's collected by our government. I know this because, again, I was in the government. I think you, again, have these issues where the discourse cannot be had properly. The conversation needs to be centered around, okay, sure, we know that data does suggest that a two-parent household is the best way, but for those who are not, who don't have a guy in the house, how can we as a society assure that those kids have the best opportunity to succeed, the best opportunity to live up to their dreams and potential? And when we're not having that conversation, everything else is moot. And that's essentially what we're doing now.
But success is not measured by the things that you have. It's not measured by the physical things that you have. It's your character. Is do you treat your neighbors the way you would like to be treated? Are you made whole? Are you free on the inside? If you can live upright as a moral person, then you're successful. You can gain the world, but still be a troublemaker. So it's not measured by what you have or don't have.
Okay, and then we want to try to get through just a couple more questions.
I'm not saying that success is measured by materialism, although in our society that is how we measure success.
How the government
that is how success is measured in our society. As a policy person, I'm telling you this. So I respect the reverend, but that's just not how data is garnered in our society. It's just not. Character is great, ethics is great, morality is great. I'm for all of those things. But how we, as a society, we the people in this room who elect people to go to DC to make policy on their behalf, determines what is success. It is based upon one's ability to acquire a certain amount of wealth or materialism. And that's just a policy reality.
That's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
It is.
I agree.